Alright, guys. This is Alertwolf here again with another movie review. This time I'm going to be doing it on Judge Dredd 3D. Um, and so, Judge Dredd 3D. For those of you who haven't seen the original film, you don't have to see this film. And it is not a remake. So, this movie, I'm going to say this. I accidentally saw this in 2D. And what happened to me was, I went for the 10 o'clock showing, the 10:30 showing, and, they didn't tell me, they didn't mention, I knew when I paid, obviously I didn't get the glasses and it was cheaper, but I didn't know that there was even a 2D version of this film, hence the title, 3D, and so I somehow missed it. The earlier time was the 3D. You would think the later time was, but no. So, having said that, from the special effects in this movie, it looked like it would have been amazing in 3D. So I say this to you. Go see it in 3D if you see it. And now I'll talk about the movie, and I'll give you my take and review on it. So, those of you who don't know who Judge Dredd is, it's an alternate future where the apocalypse happens. And this is just the synopsis of Judge Dredd himself. Not necessarily the movie. But yeah. So, the apocalypse happens, and there's the last surviving city in the U.S. is huge. It's, something like a few 100 million people live there, or whatever it is, and it's, it goes from, like, Boston to D.C., and it's one large super city. And inside the city, there are large super buildings, and these super buildings are almost like their own, community. Some are slums and whatever. And, all the stuff looks here's a difference between the two films. And the outside is irradiated wasteland, so you can only live in the city. And Judge Dredd is a judge. Now, a judge is basically, he's judge, jury, and executioner. He's a cop. He has all the powers of the cop, but he sentences you right there and can dispense justice. So that's what a cop is. They're not cops; they're judges, and they're all badass and scary as shit. And so one difference between the two movies, I think, in the original movie you had a lot of stuff that looked futuristic. Where in this movie you have a lot of stuff looking old and decrepit because people are living off the ruins, and he says that of the old world, and so he goes to the poorer areas, and so from there you have Judge Dredd goes to, it's funny, the movie opens up and he's chasing these guys that are high, and by the way, any scene where the characters are high must have looked amazing in 3D. Because you can tell they went for that type of effect. So, and it's funny, there's a moment in this movie, you're not sure what type of film this is going to be. It's during the chase, you see a guy stepping off the sidewalk, the other people are in a van, and it's like one of those, in any other movie, the guy about to get hit by this car, because there's a car coming, he stops, sees the car, and like, oh man, that almost got me. You always get that in those movies. But in this movie, he walks right in front and gets nailed by in a pretty gory way. He gets nailed by the truck and the van. And then when this happens, this is your sign of the movie that this movie is not going to be a joke. It's going to be gory. The effects you knew from the scene before are going to be amazing, and you're in for a treat if you like just the ultra violent, hardcore, like movie, and that's what you wanted was a bloody action film. You're getting it, So that was great, and then so the movie opens up. These guys are high on this drug that makes time slow down. So everything feels like it's going in super slow-mo, hence the name of the drug, slow-mo. So he gets called back in after dealing with this mess to basically handle a rookie's street evaluation, meaning, and she's a bit of a fuck-up. She shouldn't have made it into the academy, but they made a special exception. She shouldn't have. She didn't actually pass the academy, but she got like, if passing was a 65, she got like a fucking 62. So you know what I mean. So she barely failed, and so she's been barely skidding by the skin of her teeth. And oh man, I'm blanking out on her name in the movie. It's not really important, but her. It turns out she's a mutant, and she was an orphan, and her parents died because she was too close to the zone, and they died of radiation poisoning. So she's a mutant, and instead of getting horribly deformed, she's like Professor X. She has mental power. She can read people's minds, and that they think that could make. And she's the strongest psychic that they've ever seen. So they think she would make an excellent judge because she can literally go in your mind and determine if you're guilty or not. And she does, she can technically charge you with thought crime, you know what I mean? So it's his job to evaluate her, pass or fail, sink or swim. And so he was told to bring her to the worst part of town and to spend the day with him. And, based on what he says, you'll find out if she passes or fails. And so then, at the same time this is going on, you go into one of these buildings, and these megalith giant building, Peachtree is what's it called. I remember everybody's name except for the chick's name. I don't know. I may add an annotation or something like that and pop her name in there. But and Ma'am is so they're in the Peachtree, and you see it's like a dispute, and the main villain for this movie, Ma'am, she comes out and she has like the horse scar, you know what I'm saying, like a horse scar across their face. She has like a scar on the face, and she's the head of this gang, and apparently these three guys who are high as shit sold in the wrong territory or the wrong part of the building, and and I forgot this guy's name, but one of her lieutenants, who it's his territory to deal with, he's tried, he wants her okay on what to do with them because he's beat them up a few times and it hasn't worked. So she goes skin him and throw him off the balcony, and then he's like, what if we dosed them right before they fell with the slow-mo? And she's like, do it. Because she's a ruthless bitch. That's her character. She's ruthless. Because of what happened in her life, she's a ruthless bitch. And that's alright, and that makes her cool. You know what I mean? That makes her a good villain. And so they do it. They skin these guys, throw them off the building, and you could see their bloody bodies falling down, and so they get, obviously they're the judges in the area, they get called into this. And so, they talk to the local resident EMT, the guy there, the coroner there, and he alerts them to what's going on. It's not a turf war. It's this one chick, and she runs everything in this whole building, and she's branching out, and and it's about that drug slow-mo. So once they get the information, they decide, or she decides actually, the rookie decides what to do, and that's basically to go in there on the floor these guys are from, hit them hard at the location of the headquarters of that particular floor, and just hit them hard, get them, kill them, arrest people that are still alive. And so that's what happens, and the fight scene is awesome because the characters are high again, and any scene in this movie where they're high, it's pretty cool. And so they end up capturing the dude that the lieutenant guy that I mentioned before. His name again, he's the other name I can't remember, but they get him, and then when she's they don't really cuff, they zip tie. So when she's cuffing this guy, and he's the only one left, she mind reads him and realizes this is the guy that did the skinning. So this is the one they want. So they're going to take him in to be interrogated. Now the problem is he knows the big secret and the big reveal in this movie that she's the kingpin of crime, basically. And if he goes in, she knows he'll talk because there's nobody who doesn't talk. Because who the fuck knows what an interrogation room with judges would be like? They would torture the shit out of you. They'd make waterboarding look like you were fucking swimming in the beach. You know what I'm saying? So, very bad. And she triggers a lockdown and tricks the building into, apparently because of the wars and whatnot, these big super buildings have like freaking blast shields and are designed to take fodder if they were under attack. So she seals the building with them inside and basically says to the entire residents, you got to kill this guy. I mean, and this building is huge. Let me explain. This building is probably the size of bigger than a city block. It's like 4 blocks and it's almost a mile high. And you know what I mean? Like, it's a huge, or I think he said a kilometer high. It's a huge structure. It's like its own mini city inside the city. And so she basically tells the residents that I want these judges dead. And if anybody helps the judges, I'll kill you and your family. So and then at this point, it's a brutal action film, and they're going from spot to spot and, floor to floor, dealing with the situation and shooting things up, and it's just great. It's gory, and the rookie has some character development too. There is some story to it because she starts off a nervous rookie and gains confidence as the movie, after a certain point in the movie. So again, I'm not going to give you the ending or the specifics other than because I leave that part out in case you guys haven't seen it, but quite satisfying. They even had some bad judges. That was a great fight when he started going after the bad judges, man. This movie was great. They shot up to give you an idea how evil this bitch is. She shot up an entire floor with a couple of fucking chain guns and miniguns, you know what I mean, like Gatling guns, and atomized the thing to try to get to them. And of course he's Judge Dredd, you know what I'm saying? He lived through it. But it's crazy, and she killed everybody on that floor. Died. She didn't warn them. They thought they were going to shoot up the corridor, so people are getting their families inside. But she shot that whole side of the floor got shot the fuck up. So she Swiss cheesed it basically. So I mean, everybody basically died. And Oh, and while inside, if you're wondering, I forgot to mention this. Because of the blast shields, they can't call for help, so they're stranded in this building. So, like I said, it's all about getting to the top floor where she's at and rendering justice. This is a movie that does a lot of fun. If you like this type of action film, if you were a fan of the first film, you will like this film, even though there are some key differences. You almost get a sense that at this point in this is happening all in the same Judge Dredd universe. It's just a random story that it's like a day the movie was almost like a day in the life of Judge Dredd. Just trained a new rook. You know what I mean? That's the feel. And you could get a sense in the other Judge Dredd, the older one, he was older in his life, where in this Judge Dredd, he feels like he's a little younger. He's still a living legend. People are still afraid of him. If you know who Judge Dredd is, nobody wants Judge Dredd to come get you. The armor in this movie was a little different. It was more tactical. It was more body armor looking. Whereas in the original picture, it looked like the comic, and it was very grand, but it wasn't too tactical. The gun was still amazing. It even, it had different modes of ammunition, and it was still locked off so that nobody else could use it but you. The bike looked cool. And what I liked, and the other difference is in the first movie, things looked futuristic, whereas in this movie, things looked old and decrepit and run down. And it makes sense because you could guess that he's not in the rich part of town. Judge Dredd wouldn't be. Judge Dredd would be in the worst part of town because that's where Judge Dredd can do the most good, you know. And so there you go. It was a lot of fun, a lot of shooting. This movie, here's what's rough. The movies right now are so expensive that for a 3D film, it's almost like 15, $14. Well, I'm from New York, so there you go. But and I use coupons, man. I get $2 off every time I go to the movie per person for each coupon, and so I'm not paying as much. But it's a movie like this, which is such a fun movie to just go out and go see. Here's a fucking kick-ass action film. Go out and see this movie. But things are expensive. So for the money, it's hard to even though I love this movie, it's so hard to justify just a fun movie anymore, but especially 3D. But that aside, this movie you definitely have to go see. It's just a lot of fun. You're left feeling happy afterwards. It's so badass. You know what I mean? It's so good. I don't know how much longer it'll be in the theaters. It'll probably be for another week or two. So if you see my review and you just want to go out and see something truly cool in 3D and just a kick-ass freaking, just a kick-ass movie, go see it, man. It was a lot of fun. If you're a fan of the original movie, you'll be a fan of this movie, too. It's just, he's Judge Dredd. And one thing they did right in this film that they did not do right in the first film was, I was never big into Judge Dredd comics, but a buddy of mine really liked them. And one thing done is, because Judge Dredd's like the Punisher, but one thing is, with his helmet on, he never in the comic books is drawn without his helmet. He never loses it. It's just a symbol. All it is you see the mouth. You know what I mean? And then they've aged and changed the mouth as things happen, but because it could be anybody, Judge Dredd. You know what I mean? And so in the first film, he would lose it. He would action it up and doing crazy jumps and whatnot, and Stallone was seen. It's Stallone. You have to see him without his face. But in this movie, not once did this guy ever lose the helmet, take it off, move it, or any of the other judges, I might add, who weren't either A, a higher up, or B, the rookie, because she did not have a mask the entire movie because she said it blocked her psychic ability, or not blocked, it hindered it. It's because it was a buffer. You know what? You even get a scene of her interrogating someone, so that's pretty cool. And so it's a lot of fun. It's a little sci-fi. It's a dystopian future. If you're into that type of after the world ends movie, it's just fun. It's just fun. It was ultra gory, like a RoboCop's or something, except without the cheesy sense of humor. So it was ultra gory. It was a fun action. It was just a lot of fun for a movie like that. So, all right, my rating for an action movie, this is stellar. This is like a 5 out of 5 for an action movie. For overall movie experience, not in that particular type of movie, I would give this like a 4. And if you're a lady out there or a guy out there who doesn't like action films, then this movie would go down to about a 2. So if you hate action films altogether, it's a 2, don't see it. If you love action films, it's a 5, go see it. And if you're okay with action films, as part of your regular movie experience, it's a 4. Maybe go see it in matinee, see it in 3D. I regret not seeing it in 3D, and it's a lot of fun. So, if you like what you saw, click it up. Comment if you must. Subscribe if you can. And this is Alert Wolf signing out.